Hi guys, my name's Seb Tudor. I'm the man on the Silver Mountain, and welcome back. Now today, I talked last week about leadership and moving into new positions and things like that. And one of the things that kind of came out of that as an afterthought was that there are certain things that you're just not told when you first go into a leadership position, when you first do other bits and pieces that mean that you take on greater responsibility for yourself or for you and others. And as a result, I didn't feel like the last video touched on those. It touched on things that you shouldn't do, but it didn't touch on things that even if you don't do those negative things that we talked about last week, and even if you do all of the good things, these three things can still come and kind of creep up on you, and you'll be surprised by them. It might be a shock to your system. It might kind of put you off balance, and it might make your life hard. And so, as a result, when I've been in leadership positions since pretty much after I left school, if not before I left school, actually. These are things that I kind of learned as I went along and kind of picked up and developed the more kind of positions of responsibility and leadership that I took on. And it was surprising actually because I learned more about these three things that I'm going to talk to you guys about in a position where my team was only probably at maximum about 50 people compared to when I was in an environment where I was in charge of a team of over 100 people. And I feel like the reason for that is that when you've only got that small number of people, it's easy to keep track of everybody. Whilst with the larger team, it's some of these things that I'm about to talk about aren't as apparent just because you've got so many moving pieces, so many people buzzing around. Now, the first thing, and this is something that I would like to think would be kind of self-evident in the fact that you're having to take on or that you are taking on a leadership role or a role of responsibility over other people or whatever else. Anyway, but that is that the team that you're working at the head of is the be-all end-all. They are what will decide your success. They will what will decide your failure. And more often than not, if you take them for granted, then they will kick you in the balls for it. You need to make sure that those people are engaged, stimulated, have direction, are enriched in the ways that you can provide for them. That they are willing to go that extra mile for you the same way that you should be willing to go that extra mile for them, as a way of showing that you're not taking them for granted, that you do value their contribution. Because if you don't, then a team that isn't engaged with the job that's been put in front of them, doesn't want to do the extra work for the individual that's given it to them, who really is disinclined to do anything to help, or who just plainly has problems with the work, who maybe needs some extra time, some extra training, some extra coaching, someone who's had a hard time outside of work and needs just a little bit of understanding from you in work, just to give them that kind of kick, just to get them moving again, just so that they feel good about the fact that someone has taken care of them, someone has taken note and has allowed them to then get on with their day that they may very well want to do. Your team is everything, and lots of jobs try to make young managers or new managers view their teams as another asset, another resource, another thing for you to bend and twist and kind of get the most out of, just drain dry. And this obviously is a bad way of doing things. Firstly, in terms of success, making sure those people are engaged, making sure that they have everything they need. If you're looking at them like another asset, then draining them dry isn't going to be useful to you, because then that gives you a workforce of zombies who aren't going to be able to engage with the work that you're putting in front of them. If you're treating them like objects, if you're literally just going, they're an asset to be thrown at my problems to make the problems go away, then you're definitely taking them for granted. You're treating them as if they're expendable, and they're probably well aware, especially in low level jobs, they are probably well aware of the fact that they are expendable. That, you know, if they decided to up and leave, or if they got sacked, then it wouldn't be long before someone else just replaced them. But the thing is, that doesn't mean that they shouldn't be valued and taken as individuals and worked with in a constructive manner for the time that they are there with you. And the longer that they're there with you, the more they can help out, and you value them for doing so, the less likely they are to want to move on, or to run away, or to feel like they're expendable. You know, there's a difference between realizing it and having that cognitive kind of appreciation of the fact that, yeah, in real terms, I could be replaced any moment, and feeling like it. Because we're, as rational as some of us are, when it really boils down to it, we are emotional creatures when it comes to our driving kind of processes. And, you know, a lot of that comes down to how we evolved, where we developed, what kind of environments we grew up in. But again, most people are going to go with their gut, go with their feelings. And so if they feel like they aren't worth anything, feel like they're taken for granted, feel like they're expendable, then they're going to act like they are, and they're going to not do anywhere near as good a job as they could do otherwise if they just felt valued. So the first thing, just to summarize everything I just said, your team needs you to invest in them so that they can invest in you. They are the be-all and end-all. Make sure that you work with your team and help your team grow, progress, develop, because otherwise you're screwed. The next thing is, and this is something that I've been given some props for a couple of times when I've been in interviews, and this has come up, and that is that there's a chance that you're kind of you're not there to make friends. Yeah, there's a chance that you're not going to be liked, even if you try your hardest to be, and you want to be everyone's friend, and you bring them in Krispy Kreme donuts every morning and all that kind of thing. There's going to be someone somewhere that just doesn't get on with you, doesn't like you, misinterprets everything that you say and do, even if they still do a great job and you appreciate having them on shift, or whatever else. They are still going to dislike you in some way, for whatever reason, and that reason is probably entirely their own. But then you have to realise that you're there to do a job, you're not there to make friends. And there's, as I've said, there are two ways to go about that. One is the way that kind of works counter to what I was saying a moment ago, where you go, well, I'm not here to make friends, and that means that I'm going to be completely impersonal, completely disconnected from all of you, and use you, funnel you towards what I want, like an asset, like a resource. And then there's the other way, which is the better way of doing it, which is you realise that there's a good chance you're not going to be liked, not universally anyway, but your team is still important. Even those assholes that cause you problems are still worth the time of day to try and sort them out, get them working better for you and all the rest of it. And potentially, if you do that, you might change someone's opinion. Maybe not likely, depending on who that person is or what you're doing. But again, you're not there to make friends, you're there to do a job. Be civil, be polite, be interested in your people, work with them, work for them as well, but at the same time, you're not there to make friends. So don't be upset when people don't like you, people don't get on with you, people have negative opinions of you, even though you're doing a great job, and they may very well be very limited negative opinions. Suffice it to say, you need to be aware of this, because this is one of the things that potentially will shock you the most, especially if you're working up internally. Some of those people that you will have worked with before who want to treat you in that way that they have always treated you and then can't. Some of them may very well act out by being very negative towards you, and that can be a real shock when you previously may have worked very well with that person, done great work with that person, and then all of a sudden you're thinking, right, they're one of my greatest assets. You come and give them something, and then they are just unhelpful, obstructing rather, and it's just a problem. And it's just something to keep in mind. Firstly, people's attitudes change, but also that you may not be liked universally, and it's just a thing that you have to deal with. You know, um, if you're not being liked, that's fine. That's not part of the job. The job is, or the responsibility is for you to take on the responsibility, or if it's a full leadership position, for you to lead. That doesn't mean being liked. That means getting the job done. And you have to move past the concerns about what other people think of you, because otherwise you're just going to be stuck being afraid of what everyone else is afraid of, and you're never going to get anywhere. And then you're going to make mistakes, you're going to not achieve things, you're going to be pushed down. And that's something that you really can't afford in these positions, because of our last point, and that is that you will be judged so much more harshly than, or so much more severely than anybody else. um, you're going to move up in rank, and even though your bosses are human and you are human and your team is human, and there is going to be um, no one on your team is going to be perfect, you are going to be expected to be perfect as soon as you take on that role, because that's why they're paying you more, right? So that they don't have to be perfect and the team doesn't have to be perfect, but you can still get everything done. And it doesn't matter if you're right at the bottom of the company, one step up in responsibility from your average staff member, or if you're one step down from the guy that owns the company. If as long as there's someone above you and someone below you, you are going to be judged severely and harshly by someone. Obviously, the higher up the chain you go, if you are one step down from the dude who owns the company or something like that, or the board of directors, or whoever, then yeah, you've probably got a lot more freedom to avoid mistakes, and you probably have more resources at your disposal to cover up or repair mistakes before they become something that you are judged for. But at the same time, it's a case of there's still going to be that judgment there. And one of the things that stands out to me from those experiences where that kind of thing has hit me was taking accountability and suggesting ways forward are usually far better received than trying to make excuses or whatever else. And this thing, a lot of these managers that will do this to you, especially if you're in the middle or lower, um, they are going to be horribly hypocritical, because they don't want this to happen to them, but they're going to more than happily do it to you. And even when it happens to them, if someone craps on their day because they have made a mistake, they are likely to blame it on you and push it down the chain because they can. Again, the thing that stands out is you are human. You can't be perfect, but you can attempt to be as consistent as possible in what you do and how you do it. As long as you do your best with just maintaining that consistent level of what you can achieve, then when other people come to you and either judge you harshly, or you've had a bad day and something's gone wrong, or whatever else, then again, the thing to take on board is maybe less of the how badly you're being judged and how negative they're being, but more of the kind of, there is something here, there is a grain of objective truth to the fact that I'm being addressed with this, and I need to take responsibility for it and grow from it. Create a new level at which to be consistent as a result of whatever negative's been thrown at you. Use that conflict to grow. Use that momentary bad time to pick yourself up and do better. It can be difficult, and as I said, we're emotional creatures, so being suddenly hit by maybe one or two managers, or throwing stuff at you because you screwed up, or even not even necessarily you screwed up, but someone in your team screwed up and you couldn't be everywhere at once. The number of times when I first started getting into management, and started climbing up the various chains in various companies, where especially when I was on a team with over 100 people on it, It was a case of I was potentially expected to know where everybody was, what everybody was doing, check everybody's work, and it was a physical impossibility. And none of the senior management, none of the people above me would ever be seen. They'd never really come out and check or help or whatever else, with the exception of maybe one or two very good managers who I will always be thankful for showing me the right way to do my job. And it was only when push came to shove that they would come out of their comfy offices, and then it would be more negativity, more upset, more anger directed at me because I wasn't able to be completely superhuman, only somewhat. And it's something to keep in mind that you're not always going to be perfect. You're not always going to be able to maintain things, and yet it's what's going to be expected of you, and it's just something to keep in mind in that regard. But anyway, guys, I'd love to hear your thoughts, your experiences, and so on. But otherwise, I will see you in the video later. Take care. Thank you very much for watching, guys. If you enjoyed this video or found it interesting, please drop us a like, share this video, and subscribe for more. And I'll see you in the video later. Take care.